The domino effect of the country's ongoing economic crisis has now led to a deepening political instability in Sri Lanka. Protests have rocked the island nation since weeks now, with people coming to streets to demand resignation of the Rajapaksa government. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa was heckled by protesters today during his visit to Sri Maha Bodhi tree in the holy city of Anuradhapura. People with placards chanted slogans against him, demanding that he resign from the government. The Prime Minister is slated to meet top Buddhist leaders during his visit to the holy city. Remember, usually leaders visit the city to obtain blessings before big events or even ceremonies. The visit comes after Sri Lankan Buddhist leaders reiterated the call of an interim administration, saying that it should be established with the cooperation of all political parties to resolve the present crisis in the country. In a letter addressed to the Prime Minister, President and the opposition, the leaders of the three main Buddhist sects of Sri Lanka have called on the government to take immediate action to bring political, social and economic stability in the country. The visit comes after days of speculation that the Prime Minister, Mahinda Rajapaksa, might step down. Media reports suggested last week that President Gotabaya has now agreed to form an interim government and that he has asked his elder brother, Mahinda Rajapaksa, to step down from the country's Prime Minister's post. But no official confirmation in this regard has come till date. And Sri Lankan Prime Minister's office, in a statement, said no such request has been made. Meanwhile, sources also say that Mahinda Rajapaksa will make a special statement on Monday over this. In the opposition camp, there are some signals of unity. According to latest reports, the Sri Lankan Freedom Party and its 11 affiliated parties, as well as independent members of parliament, have now agreed to support the no-confidence motion against the government. The motion has been proposed by the main opposition party, Samagi Jana Balawegaya, or SJB. This came just days after the group of independent members of parliament called on the opposition SJB to respond to certain queries on the no-confidence motion. The members of parliament in a letter proposed two options on the motion. However, with the latest report on them now supporting the no-trust motion, there is no clarity whether the conditions have been dropped or if the demands have been incorporated. The SJB, in a statement, said they will extend support to the Bar Association of Sri Lanka proposal after a series of meetings attended by leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, chief opposition whip and SJB members, among others. Remember, the BASL had presented 13 proposals to bring about political and economic stability in the country. The Bar Association's proposal emphasizes complete abolition of executive presidency as the fundamental requirement in resolving the current crisis. The SJB echoed the sentiment and said that abolishment of the executive presidency is a primary need to resolve the crisis. The world is watching Sri Lanka, which is fighting its worst economic and political crisis currently. A lot has happened in the last 2 days. The island nation has been put under a state of emergency. The re-elected deputy speaker has resigned again, with diplomats urging the president to revoke the emergency orders. Tensions are now running high. Whether this sudden move will bring in some positive changes or will push the country to further uncertainty is something to be noted. And for more on this, Dr. Aruna Kulatunga is joining us live from Colombo. Dr. Aruna, thank you very much for joining us. He is a political analyst and former advisor to the Ministry of Primary Industries. This political and economic upheaval has been going on for some time now with no solutions in sight. Despite the Buddhists calling for an interim administration, will that help resolve the crisis?
Good evening, Eric, and thank you for having me. I'm joining you in the middle of a power cut, which has been continuing for 6 hours today. And basically what we are looking for is an end to all of this. Whether the interim government is going to help, we don't know. Very simply because there is no idea as yet as to how the formation of this interim government will take place, or what the shape and the size of this interim government would be. As you just said, there are a number of proposals that have been put forward. some by the by association, the civil society, some by the opposition, and some by an independent group of parliamentary members. So there are almost, I think, 6 different proposals that are going around. Some of them are quite similar, but at the end, there's no clarity. There's zero clarity as to what should happen in the next 6 months. And that is the crucial period. Either we sink or we come out of this morass in the next 6 months. And that there's no clarity on that at all.
Dr. Aruna, since calling for resignation of leaders is proving to be a tall order for Sri Lankans, is there an alternative that can be employed by the, civil society groups, the opposition and the people themselves to counter this crisis? Because the government seems helpless and there are claims of corruption over the assistance from countries like India. Okay.
The long and short of it is very simple. We have to act constitutionally. The constitution allows for a change of government. There are a number of steps to be taken, and we have to go through those steps. So, number one, the president can be changed only through impeachment or if he resigns. Now, impeachment won't happen. He will not resign unless there's a lot more pressure from the civil groups. That may happen. I'm not saying that it will happen, but it could happen. But the problem is what's next. So we are calling, the civil society is calling for the resignation of the president, the prime minister, all the rest of the Rajapaksas, and even to the limit of the 256 members, 226 members of the parliament, all of them to go home. However, there's no clear path forward after that. What do we do from that point onwards? Who's going to govern the country? So those are the questions that we have not yet answered. And I think we need time for this. We need maybe 2 or 3 weeks more to get some clarity on this. And there are serious people sitting together and talking about this now from the different political parties. There's a consensus that I think is going to emerge in the next week, but it takes time. So even though the civil society and people like us are agitating for a change, there has to be a clear path on that and clarity on what is next. So instead of having that clarity, it's very difficult to say, let's get rid of the whole lot. We don't know what's next.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Dr. Aruna Kulatunga is a political analyst and former advisor to the Ministry of Primary Industries. Thank you very much for making time and for talking to WION today.
Thank you, Eric.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.